Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. You know how much we all love to learn something new. Well, get ready, because today we're going to be talking about mountains.
Mountains.
Yeah, but not just any mountains. These mountains could hold the key to clean energy.
Oh, wow.
So we're going to be diving into some really cool research that was featured in BBC Science Focus magazine. And they're suggesting that mountains could actually be hiding vast reserves of natural hydrogen gas.
That's right. And that would be huge for clean energy.
I know. So before we get into all the mountain stuff, let's start with the basics. Why is hydrogen such a big deal in the energy world? Why is everyone talking about it?
Well, hydrogen is just an incredibly clean-burning fuel. So when it burns, the only byproduct is water.
Wow.
So no nasty emissions.
So it wouldn't contribute to climate change.
Exactly. So no contribution to climate change. It's really like the holy grail of clean energy.
So it is the dream fuel. It sounds too good to be true. So there's got to be a catch, right? That we can't just dig it up like oil or coal or something.
Yeah, you're right. The catch is that most hydrogen production today actually relies on fossil fuels.
Oh, so it kind of defeats the purpose then.
Yeah, it really does. So it kind of defeats the whole purpose of using it as a clean energy source. But what if we could find a way to tap into naturally occurring hydrogen?
Yeah. Where would we even find that?
Well, that's where the mountains come in.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more about these mountains.
All right, so deep beneath the Earth's surface, we have the mantle.
Okay.
And this is the layer just below the Earth's crust.
Right.
And in the mantle, there are rocks. And these rocks are being pushed upwards by the movements of tectonic plates. You know, those giant plates that make up the Earth's crust?
Yeah. And they're always shifting and moving.
Exactly. So that shifting and moving sometimes pushes those mantle rocks closer to the surface. And those mantle rocks, they're rich in minerals like olivine.
Olivine, yeah.
Okay, so these mantle rocks are moving up toward the surface. How does that actually create hydrogen?
Well, when these rocks come into contact with water...
Something really interesting happens. So the minerals in the rocks, they react with the water.
Okay.
And that process is called serpentinization.
Serpentinization.
Yeah, serpentinization. And one of the byproducts of that reaction is hydrogen gas.
Whoa. I had no idea rocks could make hydrogen.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's like there are these little hydrogen factories under there.
Yeah, you could think of it that way.
But wait a minute. Doesn't this happen everywhere? Why are mountains so special in this whole hydrogen-making process?
Well, it's because mountain formation actually creates a really, really good environment for serpentinization.
Really?
Yeah. So mountains, with their steep slopes and all that heavy rainfall, they provide ideal conditions for water to circulate deep underground, and that allows it to interact with those rising mantle rocks.
So it's like this perfect combination of the geology and the water.
Exactly. It's this unique combination that makes mountains these potential hotspots for natural hydrogen production.
Okay, I'm starting to get it. So it's not just any mountain. It's the way they're formed that makes them these potential hydrogen powerhouses.
Exactly.
Okay, well, this is all very convincing. But do we actually have any proof? Is there any real evidence that this is happening? Are we actually finding hydrogen in these mountains?
Yeah, that's the really exciting part. Researchers are already finding evidence of this natural hydrogen production.
They are?
Yeah. They've detected traces of hydrogen in mountain ranges like the Pyrenees, the Alps, and the Balkans.
Okay, so it's not just like a theory.
Exactly. It's not just theoretical. There are real signs that mountains could be a significant source of clean energy.
That's amazing. But, okay, finding traces of hydrogen is one thing. But, how do we know if this could actually be a viable energy source, something we can use on a bigger scale?
Right. Well, that's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's one that researchers are trying to figure out right now.
Okay.
There's still so much that we need to understand, how this hydrogen moves underground, how much we can actually access.
Right.
What the best ways to extract it would even be.
Got it. So we can't just drill into a mountain and have all this hydrogen come rushing out.
No, not quite. I mean, there are definitely some technological hurdles to overcome.
I bet.
Yeah, we need to learn how to pinpoint these hydrogen-rich zones.
Yeah.
And then develop ways to extract the hydrogen that are safe and don't harm the environment.
Right. And then on top of that, you have to build all this new infrastructure.
Exactly. Like pipelines and storage facilities.
Okay, so it's definitely not as simple as just sticking a straw in a mountain and getting hydrogen.
No, definitely not.
There's a lot of work to be done. But let's say we figure all that out. How much hydrogen are we even talking about here? Could we power entire cities with this? Or is it more for smaller scale uses?
Well, it's still too early to give you a definite answer on that.
Okay.
Some researchers are really optimistic, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, they think that natural hydrogen reserves could be huge, big enough to meet a good chunk of our energy needs.
Wow.
But some researchers are a bit more cautious. They say we need more data on the actual size of these reserves and where they are.
So it's still kind of up in the air.
Yeah, it could be something that just helps out our current energy mix.
Right.
Or it could totally revolutionize the entire energy sector.
Wow, that's pretty incredible to think about. It's exciting and kind of scary at the same time.
Yeah, it would be a game changer. But like with any new technology, there are some potential downsides we need to think about.
Like what?
Well, we need to make sure that getting this hydrogen out of the ground doesn't end up hurting the environment.
Yeah.
And we also have to make sure it actually makes sense financially.
Right. Because it's great to have a clean fuel, but it has to be something that can actually work long term.
Exactly. It has to be sustainable for the environment and for the economy.
That's a good point. It sounds like there's a tough balance to figure out.
Yeah, it is. And that's why this research is so important.
Uh-huh.
We need more information. We need to do a lot of testing. And we have to look at the pros and cons very carefully before we make any decisions about how to actually use this research.
I never thought I'd be talking about mountains and energy in the same conversation.
Haha, me neither.
It's pretty amazing to think that something like a mountain, which seems so solid and permanent,
Yeah.
could actually hold the power to change our energy future.
It really changes your perspective on things, doesn't it?
It does. It makes you wonder what other secrets are hidden right under our feet, just waiting for us to find them. Yeah, it really is incredible to think about. This is such a great example of how scientific curiosity can lead to things we never expected. Like, this could be huge. It just shows how important it is to keep an open mind and, think outside the box, especially when we're trying to solve big problems like climate change.
Absolutely. And it shows how important it is to support scientific research. We never know what amazing discoveries are out there waiting for us.
Right. Okay, so before we wrap up our mountain energy deep dive, what are the main things you think people should take away from this?
Well, first, I think the big takeaway is that natural hydrogen, the kind made from serpentinization, that's a really promising source of clean energy. And second, mountains, with their unique geology, they could be a much better place for this process than we thought. Like, they could have tons of hydrogen just waiting to be tapped. And finally, even though this research is still pretty new, the potential is huge. So it's definitely something to watch in the next few years.
It's amazing to think that something as big and as solid as a mountain could actually help us create a cleaner future. It really makes you look at things in a whole new way.
It really does. It also shows us that nature often has the answers to our biggest problems. We just have to be willing to look for them.
So true. Well, I have to say I've learned a lot from this conversation. It's always so fascinating to chat with you.
Likewise, always a pleasure.
And for everyone listening, if you're as intrigued by this as we are, I definitely recommend checking out that BBC Science Focus article. It's a great read, and it goes into even more detail about all this. And until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep those questions coming.